So is that a new bow, Corey?
It is. Brand new, in fact. Just set up and just got the 20-yard pin dialed in.
So what's the spiel on that one?
Well, there's a lot. So compared to my first bow, a lot's changed. The riser's no longer wood. The limbs are almost parallel to each other. The cams are a lot bigger. There's been a lot of change, but I think the new for this year is the carbon being integrated into the riser. And carbon's got a lot of really cool properties, but one of the things carbon doesn't do well is twist. It's hard to keep it consistent. So a full riser made out of full carbon, when you get up into the twists and turns, it's really hard to keep that consistent. And so you don't get the exact same energy response that you do from something more uniform like aluminum. But what Prime did was they took some carbon rods and inserted them into the vertical portion of the riser, and that does a couple things. It lightens it up slightly. You remove aluminum from there, but carbon's incredibly stiff. And so in the vertical form like this, in the rod form, you aren't getting the riser flexing as you draw it back, which creates some inefficiencies in it. It's keeping it stiffer so that all the energy can be transferred through the limbs, cams, string to the arrow.
It shoots pretty good?
It's so quiet and so smooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me guess, it's the smoothest, quietest bow you've ever had.
It
It is?
probably
All right,
is.
okay. As long as you're telling me the truth,
Yeah.
I believe you.
So one of the other cool things about the new cam setup on this is where you have the cables that come over at an angle here. It makes the cam lean. So you lose some efficiency, you lose tuning ability, some of the accuracy. So what they've done is this inline cam's got a module there, and as you draw it back, this actually turns so that that angle isn't an effect on the pressure and on the torque that's put on the cam.
And it's kind of crazy that, like we said on the way out here, it's like, what's next?
Yeah.
But this seems like a pretty good little leap comparatively to the incremental changes bow companies usually
Yeah.
make every year. That seems like this whole thing seems like a pretty big improvement.
It is.
Something
And
that
that's-
no one really saw. Because this doesn't look like anything else out there.
No. And Prime, you know, they used to have the parallel cam. So they actually had two cams on top and two on bottom. One of them ran the cables, one of them ran the string, so you didn't have that same thing. It was super stable. And I remember looking, I resisted it. I called Jason Matzinger when they first came out, and I'm like, hey, tell me about that. And I'm like, I'm just skeptical. You have all these cams going on, all these different things. It's more pieces to worry about, more things that could go wrong. And he was like, you got to just shoot it to believe it. And it took me a couple of years to shoot one. And when I did, you know, the other bows I'd been shooting took hundreds of arrows to get them to tune. And then you lay them down in the sun for an hour and you've got yoke cables coming up that twist and stretch, and then your bow's out of tune.
Right.
And with the parallel cams, it was like 3 shots and it's tuned, and it didn't lose its tune. And so that was a big advancement. And then they took it from that to, hey, I think we can solve it and we can save some weight and save some pieces. And it's, yeah, when you draw this back, it actually moves. The slide that the string is in there, that the cable's in, actually moves out so that you don't get that torque on it as you draw it back.
Is the compound bow the biggest innovation in your hunting that's affected your hunting the most in the last 20 years?
Man, you know, it's kind of like when we talk about physical conditioning and boots and all the different pieces. I think everything has evolved and innovated to contribute to it. I don't know if there's one that I would say is the biggest contributor, but I will say that getting to the point of getting a shot at an elk is still tough. But when you draw back now, I think your confidence is a lot higher than it used to be that you're going to hit what you're aiming at.
Yeah.
But there's still, you know, all those other things go into getting to the point. I mean, the bow is used for about 3 seconds of the whole process of shooting an elk. Sometimes takes days to get a shot at one. So
Or years for a lot of people.
yeah.
So what are you thinking about when you're shooting?
I think that's the beauty of shooting a bow, is you don't have to think about anything.
You don't got to think about life,
You don't. It's so therapeutic to shoot a bow.
the meaning of life.
I think if we ever figure that out, it'll be while we're shooting a bow.
Yeah.
No, it's just, I mean, I definitely go through a process of aiming and releasing. But I think you become so focused on that process and on aiming that every other distraction, every other thought kind of leaves your mind.
Yeah. So we've talked about like how all this stuff helps us be more efficient and effective. And we've even talked about how it can be controversial, but like, how do you draw lines and who gets to draw those lines and how do we know when enough is enough? All within the context of knowing that we're always going to be looking to innovate and improve. You know, it's something we talked about this morning, but what's your perspective on that?
I think, you know, I mean, as technology advances, it does allow you to shoot farther. But as you shoot farther, you aren't getting any better than when you were shooting closer with previous technology. So it allows you to do that, but my goal is to be 100% efficient. So I don't have a desire to take technology and go back to 100 yards and shoot an elk. I still want to get 10 yards from the elk if I can. And so I think getting as close as you can to the target is my goal when I'm hunting. The bow makes it so that I go from 90% accuracy to 95% accuracy.
So that the ethics of it all still exists within the hunter.
Within the hunter. And ethics is always going to be we can't regulate ethics. Like, that's got to be a decision that comes from within. The reason I bow hunt is because I love the thrill of chasing animals with a bow, especially elk. Do I want to kill? Absolutely. Every time I go out, I want to kill an elk. But I know that's not the reality. So that challenge of the chess game of getting close enough to get that shot. Now, close enough to get that shot, I could shoot 100 yards and probably kill an elk. I mean, we do it at Total Archery Challenge. We do it practicing at home. But the reason I shoot 100 yards is so when I get to 40 yards, it seems like that vital zone is just this big and there's no way I'm going to miss it. Mm-hmm. I would never take a shot that far, but that's a personal choice. And if somebody's willing to, they have to realize the chances of success go down. And when that happens, they're contributing to possibly losing opportunity in the future. Mm-hmm. And so I think individually we have to police ourselves to say, I want to make sure when I shoot this elk, I put my tag on it. And
some would say, then, well, why don't they make bazookas legal, or, you know, infrared drones?
Yeah.
If that's the argument.
Because I think everyone's goal should be 100% confidence when they shoot a bow. And I think the problem is a lot of people are so determined to kill something, they're willing to try and hope that it works. And so somebody that would have no business shooting 60 yards is going to fling an arrow at 60 yards and hope that that arrow goes where it's supposed to and kills that elk, because their end goal is just, I've got to kill that elk no matter what. Mm-hmm. My end goal is, I want to hunt elk with a bow because I love it.
Right.
And I'm only going to shoot if I'm super, super confident. That doesn't mean things don't go wrong. It doesn't mean that I don't miss. But when I pull that trigger, in my mind, I know I'm going to make that shot. Mm-hmm. And if there's any doubt, I won't take the shot.
Yeah. So where's innovation 20 years from now in hunting?
I can't even imagine.
If I had a gun to your head and you had to guess where we all are
20 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I hope it's just like this, but I know it won't be. If you'd asked me in 1985, when I was shooting my metallic blue Martin Firecat, what I thought the next bow was going to look like, I wouldn't have guessed it. If you'd asked me what I thought 40 years from then, the next bow, which were 40 years from then, you couldn't have guessed that all these innovations were going to solve so many of the problems that we had. We just thought those problems were an inherent part of shooting archery, and that the inaccuracy, the slow speed, the lack of tuning, all those things were just a part of it. Archery is just tough, and so that's part of it. And I think, fortunately there's people that see a problem and don't say, that's the end of the line, we just have to live with it. They say, I'm going to find a solution for it.
Yeah.
So, I think problems, we always want them to be faster. People will shoot light arrows trying to get more speed. I think there's a good mix of speed and weight. And if you can go up in speed and go up in weight, you're going to have more energy that's transferred into the animal when you shoot it. So that's a good thing. So I think we're going to see increases in speed.
What about hunting as a whole, though? Like,
where's hunting in 20
yeah,
years?
Yeah. When in terms of innovative products or services, or, like, where does this yearning to innovate and make better things take us 20 years from now? We think, what was 20 years ago? I guess 20 years ago was 2005, right? Yeah. And so much has changed in that amount of time. And I can only imagine that, it's going to keep changing, right? Whether that be opportunity or access, equipment.
I think there's a way to regulate technology to a certain degree, but you're never going to be able to regulate how far people shoot an animal. And so, when people talk about a bow now allows you to shoot 90 yards at an elk, it allows you to do that, but as an archer, I think we have a responsibility, as a bow hunter, a responsibility to say, it might be possible, but that's not bow hunting for me.
Right.
Bow hunting for me is not about going out and killing an animal at any cost. It's about getting close and honing the other skills that require me to get close to the elk so that I can shoot it with a bow. I think I'm optimistic that we as a bow hunting society will regulate ourselves so that we don't have to be regulated. But if success rates get to the point where everybody's out there, they're able to shoot every animal or kill every animal they shoot at, it's going to have to be regulated with shorter seasons or less tags being given out. With that being said, I don't think that we're going to see people putting in the work that it takes to get close enough to the animals to get the shot. And I think that's what's saving us. As technology advances, as innovation comes into it, shooting the bow at the animal is the last 1%. There's still 99% of the hunt that leads up to that point. And that's, no matter what you have, that's not going to change. That comes from experience, that comes from knowledge, that comes from work. And until people people start doing that, I just don't see technology advancing success rates.
Right.
Technology will change the success rate of how many people get a shot at an elk and kill it. But they won't change the success rate of how many people get a shot at an elk. Other than people will be able to extend their range. They'll think they'll be able to extend their range, and people will shoot longer distances. But that's not going to translate to more dead elk necessarily.
At least the ones they find.
And that's the equation. The more technology advances, the more we push the limits of it, and our success rates stay the same.
Well, I appreciate you coming out here today and shoot some arrows.
Thanks.
Why don't you shoot a couple more? I'm learning as we go.
As am I.
Well, dude, I gotta admit, that's a pretty cool looking bow you got there.
It is. I'm excited to shoot an elk with it this fall.
Are you gonna do that, you think?
I hope so. That's the goal.
What's
always the goal.
What's the success rate with all that innovation you got in your hands?
It's
100%?
still not 100%. Thanks for having me out.
Absolutely, dude. This has been awesome.
Yeah. I'm still not 100% sold on taking that elk hunting yet, but the technology's growing on me.
All you gotta do is type into the computer, elk. Find bull elk,
and it just takes you to them.
And it just auto drives you right to them.
I like that. So, giving that away?
Gonna give it away. Every $50 on the website get you in to win it. We're gonna give that away in November, but I think you know what I'm going to say next.
Yeah, let's give one of these away too. So let's make it a custom PEAX edition of the Prime Form.
So, okay.
Next 30 days.
So don't tell them, Dave. Don't tell me. Tell them.
I'm just making sure it's okay with you.
All right.
So,
I give you the green light.
every $50 you spend gets you entered to win the PEAX Cyber Beast, but for the next 30 days, you'll also be entered to win a custom PEAX edition of the Prime Form bow. So that's at peaksequipment.com.
Every $50. Boom.
Boom.